We begin today by the Mishnah on Daf Lametes Amud Aleph. Zok Heilige Mishnah Mitzvah Begadol Yavim. The mitzvah is for the oldest brother to do the Yibum. There's many brothers, but we learned this once before in the Gemara. We learn out from the pasuk V'hoya B'chair that the oldest brother does the Yibum. Lo Ratza, if he does not want to do the Yibum, then Mahalchen al Kol Ha'achen. So you go and ask any of the other brothers if who's going to do the Yibum. You go from the oldest down. You go down, the next. That's according to most Rishonim. Some say if the oldest is not doing it, so then you can just go to any of them. You don't have to go specifically in the order of age. But if none of the other brothers want to do the mitzvah of Yibum, so then Chayzrin Eitzel Gadol. So you go back to the oldest brother, and you tell him, listen, Alecha mitzvah, you're the one, you're the oldest, you have the mitzvah. Oy chalitz oy yavim. Either do chalitza or do Yibum. What's if the oldest brother says, look, there's a younger brother here, he's still not bar mitzvah yet, so he can't do the mitzvah, but let's wait for him. Maybe when he'll be bar mitzvah, he'll be interested in doing the mitzvah of Yibum. Till he'll be a gadol. Or let's say the oldest brother that's here is not actually the oldest brother. There's another older brother that's somewhere overseas, and therefore the oldest one that's here says, there's one that's older than me, let's wait for him to come from overseas. Or there's another brother that's right now deaf-mute, or he's a shaita, so he can't do the mitzvah. So he says, let's wait for him, maybe he'll be healed, and then he'll be able to do the mitzvah instead of me. All of these things, when he says this, we don't wait, we don't listen to him. We tell him, Alecha mitzvah. You're the oldest right now that's here, so you have the mitzvah. Either give chalitza or do yibum. Sagt the Gemara Itmar, we learned the following machlekes. Bias koton v'chalitzas gadol. If you have the option of either a cotton doing the mitzvah of yibum, and when it says over here, the lashon of a cotton, it doesn't mean literally a cotton that's under bar mitzvah, but it means a younger brother, or chalitzas gadol, or the oldest brother should do the chalitza. So what comes first? So they argued about this. Chadam, one opinion was bias cotton adife, that let the younger brother do the mitzvah of yibum. Chadam, another one said chalitzas gadol adife, let the oldest brother go ahead and do the mitzvah of chalitza. So the Gemara explains their argument. Man dama bias cotton adife, the opinion that says that a younger brother does the mitzvah of yibum, the ha mitzvah be yibum. That's the more important mitzvah. If you have a choice between yibum and chalitza, so Yibum is better. That's the Iker mitzvah. The one that says that even if the Gadol is not going to do Yibum, but he's going to do Chalitza. But nevertheless, since he's the oldest, he goes ahead because the reason is, B'makim Gadol, in the place where there's an older brother, Bias Katan Lav Klumi. The mitzvah of a younger brother doesn't come into play, B'chlal. As long as the older brother is here, it's his responsibility, it's his mitzvah. So therefore, even his chalitza comes before a cotton doing a yibum. That's the machlokes. Now the Gemara is going to bring from our Mishnah. So Tanan, what did it say in our Mishnah? Lo ratza. If the older brother does not want, so what do? Machzirin al kol ha'achen. So you go and you to any of the other younger brothers. So now my love, don't you think when the Mishnah says he does not want what? What does that mean? Lav, don't you think this means that loy ratzel yavim, he does not want to do yibum. He doesn't want to do the mitzvah of yibum. Elalachloitz, he only wants to do chalitza. Ve'katani, what does the Mishnah say? Mahalchen eitzel ha'achen. When the oldest brother only wants to do chalitza, so you go first to the younger brothers to see if they would do the mitzvah of yibum. So Shmamina, so I clearly see from the Mishnah, Bias cotton, when you have the mitzvah of Yibum from one of the younger brothers, Adife is better than the older brother, the oldest brother, that's ready to do Chalitza. Says the Gemara, Loi, that's not the pshat of our Mishnah. Loi ratza lachloitz v'loi liyavim. What the Mishnah meant is the oldest brother doesn't want to do either of them, not Chalitza and not Yibum. That's when we go to the younger brothers to see if any of them will do it. So now the Gemara says, if that's the pshat in the beginning of the Mishnah, that the oldest brother doesn't want to do any of them, so the chvasa, if so, the pshat would be similar. Gabe ha'achen, when it says afterwards regarding the brothers, that loy ratzu, that they don't want. You have to go back now to the older brother. So if they didn't want, what does that mean? Loy lachleitz v'loy liyavim. They don't want to do not chalitza and not yibum. So if so, the question is, amai chayzrin meitzel hagadol. So if they don't want, he didn't want, and then they don't want, why would you have to go back to the gadol that he should do chalitza or yibum? Lemichbei is the point is that you're going to go and force him to do something that he doesn't want. Why do you have to force him? Lekafye ledidhu. Why can't you just force one of these brothers to go and do chalitza? So Rashi explains, the Gemara's question is, if the pshat in the Mishnah was that the older brother is ready to do chalitza, but he's not ready to do yibum, so the fact that we go back to the older brother to have him do the chalitza is understood because he's ready to do chalitza, so it's not a very big tirche to go back to the older brother, which is really his responsibility. But if the pshat over here is that nobody wants to do not chalitza and not yibum, so it's a very big tirche for the Bezdin. The Bezdin right now went to the younger brothers. They're in front of the Bezdin right now. And nobody wants to do anything. You're going to have to force somebody to do something. So to go back to the older brother is a big tirche. So if you're anyways forcing someone, why not force these younger brothers that are in front of you right now? Says the Gemara, that's not a question, because kivin, the mitzvah alei didei ramye, because since the oldest brother is the one that really the mitzvah lies upon him, lidei kaifinan, he's the one that we have to force to do the chalitza. Even in this case where it's a tircha for the bezdin, to go back to the older brother, because it's his mitzvah, we do have to go back to the older brother to do the chalitza. Tanan, so it said also in the Mishnah, Tala bekotten. What if the older brother comes and says, let's wait for one of the younger brothers that's not bar mitzvah yet, Ache Yagdal. Let's wait until he becomes a gadol. Ein shaymin loy. We don't listen to him. So the Gemara asks, why don't we listen to him? V'i bias katan adife. If you're going to say that if the older brother is only ready to do chalitza, but the younger brother might want to do the mitzvah of Yibum, and you're telling me that the mitzvah of Yibum of a younger brother is a better option than the oldest brother doing chalitza, so Amay and Shemelai. Why don't we wait? He's right. Maybe we should wait for the younger brother that would do the mitzvah of Yibum. Ninter, let's wait. Dilma Godel Umeyabim. Maybe the youngest brother that's not bar mitzvah yet will become a Godel and he'll do Yibum. And that's better, you said. So that's the question. So this seems to prove that no, if the older brother wants to do chalitza, we allow him to do chalitza, that's better. Says the Gemara, according to your reasoning and according to your question, why don't you ask a question even further? Ubegadol, the Mishnah afterwards said, when there's the oldest brother that's present, he says, let's wait for an even older brother that's overseas. So Ein Shaimeloi, we don't listen to him to wait for that older brother to come. Why not? Amai, why don't we wait? Ninter, let's wait. Dilma Asi, v'chalitz. Maybe the oldest brother will come and do chalitza. So some are actually guided over here, Dilma Asi Miyabim, similar to what we just said before by the cotton, that let's wait for the oldest brother, maybe he'll actually do the mitzvah of Yibum. But the Gemara is actually asking an even stronger question. Even if that oldest brother is not going to do Yibum, even if he's only going to do chalitza, but if you're telling me that the mitzvah is a maila, that the oldest brother does chalitza, so let him go ahead and do chalitza. Let's wait, maybe the older brother will do chalitza. So in other words, the Gemara is asking, B'chlal, let's explain what's the pshat over here in the Mishnah when it says we don't wait. When he says let's wait for a younger brother, let's wait for an older brother, why not? Why shouldn't we wait? Ella, so what's the answer? Kol shehuye mitzvah loy mashinon. When you have a mitzvah that's here, that lies upon you, and you could do it right now, we don't wait, maybe let's wait for him or for him to go and do the mitzvah, we don't wait. So therefore, that's the same hesber over here, even though there could be a maila to do the yibum with a cotton over the chalitza of the gadol, but if the gadol is here right now and he could do the chalitza, we don't wait for the cotton maybe to become bar mitzvah and do the yibum. We don't delay a mitzvah. Ista Amri, now the Gemara brings a different version of this machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, what they argued about. The Gemara says first, regarding what we said before, they did not argue about. When it comes to the actual mitzvah of Yibum itself, Kula Amalei Pligi, nobody argues, the Bias Katan Nadifa, that the mitzvah of Yibum, that a younger brother would fulfill, is a better option than having an older brother do chalitza. Because the mitzvah of Yibum is much better, that's the primary mitzvah to do. Ki pligi, however, when is their argument? The chalitzas cotton, regarding the chalitza of a cotton, of a younger brother, as the Gemara explains right now. V'hachi itmer, and this is how the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was taught. Chalitzas cotton, v'chalitzas gadol. When you have a younger brother that's ready to do chalitza, and you have an older brother that's ready to do chalitza. So what's the so the shaila over here is there an advantage in the older brother doing chalitza? So pligi bar Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, this is where there was the machlokes between them. Chadama, one says chalitzas gadol adifa. Yeah, there is an advantage to the older brother doing the chalitza. Chadamar, but another opinion here is ki adodi ninu. When it comes to chalitza, the older brother, the younger brother, it's the same. There's no advantage in having the older brother doing chalitza. So the Gemara explains the machlekes. The opinion that says that the chalitza of the older brother is better, the ha-mitzvah begadol. The fact that there's the mitzvah of the older brother to do the mitzvah of yibum, the same applies to chalitza. Whether he does yibum or chalitza, it's his mitzvah. But the other opinion is, ki amrina mitzvah begadol. When do I say that the gadol has the mitzvah before the rest of the brothers? Lanyin yibum. That's only regarding the mitzvah of yibum. That's the main mitzvah, so that's his mitzvah. Avalinyan chalitza, when it comes to chalitza, which is basically patering her and not doing the main mitzvah, over here, ka'adodininu. Here, the older brother and the younger brother are all going to be the same. So again, the Gemara is going to bring from our Mishnah, a bit different than before, but a similar line of questioning here, and ask from our Mishnah on this argument. Tanan, so we learned in our Mishnah, Loi Rotzu, what happens if the younger brothers that you went to them because the older didn't want to do, you went to them and they also don't want, so you go back to the older brother. So now my love, don't you think, what's the pshat over here? Loi Rotzu liyavim ela lachleitz, that the younger brothers did not want to do yibum, they only wanted to do chalitza. Ve'katani, what does it say? You go back to the gadol to do chalitza. Right, so the younger brothers are ready to do chalitza, the older brothers are ready to do chalitza. What do? You go back to the gadol to do chalitza. Shmami, no. So doesn't this prove that chalitza's gadol adifa? That when any of them are ready to do chalitza, the chalitza of the oldest brother is better. Says the Gemara, loy, that's not the pshat in the Mishnah. Loy ratzu, when it says that they did not want, what does it mean? Loy lachleitz v'loy liyavim. They don't want to do not chalitza and not yibum. Says the Gemara, okay, so if so, the chvasei gabi gadol, so similar regarding the gadol, what is when it says loy ratza, that he didn't want, so what does that mean? Loy lachloitz v'loy liyabim, that the gadol did not want to do not chalitza and not yibum. So if so, ela mai chayzrin etzel gadol. So why do you go back to the gadol, that he should do it? Lemichpe, you're only going back to him to force him to do the chalitza. But if you anyways have to force them to do the chalitza, l'chfayu l'didhu. Why doesn't the Bezdin force the ones that are in front of them right now? So like I explained before, Rashi says the point is that if nobody wants to do not yibum and not chalitza, why would Bezdin have to go through the tircha to go back to the oldest brother? Let's force the one that's in front of us right now. So the Gemara says, no, we do make them go through this tircha. Kiven the mitzvah alei didei ramye lididei kaifinon. Since the mitzvah lies upon him, so we only go and force the gadol to do even just the mitzvah of chalitza. Toshema, again the Gemara brings from the Mishnah, it said the Mishnah, Tola begadol. If the oldest brother that's present says, let's wait for an even older brother, achiyavim imdinis hayam. He's going to come from overseas. Ein shaymin loy, we don't listen to him. If you'll say that the chalitza of an oldest brother, that's better, amai, why don't we wait? Amai and Shemile, why don't we wait for the oldest brother to come from overseas? Nintar, let's wait. Dilma asi v'chalitz. Maybe the older brother will come and he will do chalitza. And it's better than a younger brother even doing yibum. Right? Or actually, no. Again, no. According to this version, if a younger brother does yibum, the yibum is better. But it's definitely better for an older brother to do chalitza than a younger brother to do chalitza, according to one opinion. So if so, in our Mishnah over here as well, why don't we wait for the older brother to come and do the chalitza? Says the Gemara, now according to your reasoning, so bekoton achi yagdel ein shemin loy. So it says in the Mishnah also regarding a cotton, that we don't wait for a cotton to become bar mitzvah, to be able to do the mitzvah. Why don't we listen to him? Amai, if he says, let's wait for this cotton, we should wait. Ninta dilma godlu miyabim. Maybe this younger brother that's not bar mitzvah yet, when he'll become bar mitzvah, he'll be ready to do yibum as well. And that definitely has an advantage. L'kula alma, to do yibum of a younger brother, we said according to this version, is better than any of the older brothers doing chalitza. Now over here, according to one version, the Gemara goes back to the point that we said before about waiting for an older brother to come from overseas. Inami, you could even say, Dilma asi iu miyabma. That older brother that would come from overseas, maybe he would actually do the mitzvah of yibum as well. So why wouldn't we wait for that older brother? So the answer is, Kol shehuye mitzvah loy shahinon. Because when it comes to delaying a mitzvah, we don't wait for someone else to come to fulfill the mitzvah if the one that's here now has to do the mitzvah. So there's no raya from our Mishnah. Now the Gemara Bechlal comes and brings another Mishnah which will address the whole premise of what our Gemara is speaking about. The premise until here is that it's pashut that the mitzvah of Yibum takes precedent, is more important than Chalitza. So the Gemara brings it's a discussion about this. Tanan Asam, so we learned in the Mishnah. Mitzvahs Yibum koidemes lemitzvahs Chalitza. The mitzvah of Yibum comes before the mitzvah of Chalitza. Bari Shaina, now in the beginning of times, Shayim Miskabin L'Shem Mitzvah, when they did the mitzvah of Yibum, so this person only married his brother's wife for the purpose of the mitzvah of the Torah of Yibum. So therefore Yibum is before. But Achshav, now, Shayim Miskabin L'Shem Mitzvah, when a person is marrying his brother's wife, he's not just doing it for the mitzvah, but he's doing it for any other reason. So in such a case, Amru, now they said, Mitzvah's Chalitza Kedemes LaMitzvah's Yibum. That the mitzvah of Chalitza is actually comes before the mitzvah of Yibum, since it's not being done l'shem mitzvah. But Omar Rav, regarding this, Rav said, Ein kaifin. We don't force a person to do Chalitza. Even though we just said Chalitza comes first, we don't force. Meaning if he chooses to do Dafke Yibum, so he can go and do Yibum. That's his choice. Now Rashi here actually adds that it's not only the husband's choice, but it's also the wife's choice. If both of them, it's up to both of them. If they both agree that they want to do Yibum, so then Yibum, they can do the mitzvah of Yibum and not Chalitza. That's what Rashi here says. Taisus disagrees. Taisus says it's only up to the Yavam. If he decides he wants to do Yibum, he can force her to do Yibum, even against her will. If you remember, we once had before in the Gemara where it spoke about a mukesh chin, a person that has boils over his body and he's disgusting and she doesn't want to marry him. In such a case, Taisa says, she can refuse to do Yibum. But in a regular case, if she just comes up with any reason she doesn't want to do Yibum, it's not up to her. It's only up to him. But Rashi, as I said, disagrees. Rashi says it's up to her as well. When a Yavam would come in front of Rav, Amalahu, he would say to them, Ibayis chalitz. If you want, you could do chalitza, but Ibayis Yavam. If you want, you could do the mitzvah of Yibum. Bididach talarachmana. The Torah puts it in your hands, because the pasuk says, V'im loy yach ish. If the man does not want to do Yibum, then he does chalitza. Ha'am chafetz. But if he does, Ibay chalitz, Ibay Yavam. He has a choice. He could do chalitza or he could do Yibum. Rav Yudah Savar and Kaifin. Rav Yudah also agrees that you don't force a person to do chalitza. So why? Midaskin Rav Yehuda begite. Because if you look into the nusach, if you look into the language that's written in the get, the chalitza. When you do chalitza, chachamim will masakin that you also give a certain document similar to a get. So what is written in this document? Eich ploinis bas ploinis akrivis. This woman, the daughter of Pliny, came to us. Yas Pliny Yevama Kadmana. She came with Pliny, her Yavam, to us, Beindina, to the Bezdin, Vishtumaydeinu, and she let us know that he is the brother of her husband that passed away. They share the same father. Va'amri lei, and they said to her, Itzavis lei, to him that is, they said to him, Itzavis liyavim, if you wish to do Yibum, Yavim, so you can do Yibum. V'iloi, so right over here, in this nusach you see, they say to him, only if you, they gave him the choice, if you want, you can do Yibum. V'iloi, and if you don't, Itla le raglach di yamina, stick out your right foot. V'itla le ragl di yamina, and he stuck out his right foot. And v'sharas sine ma'al ragloi, and she untied the shoe from his foot. V'yarkes ba'ampayi, and she spit in front of him, roika de mischazia le beidina al ara, a spittle that the bezdin could see on the ground. That's the nusach of this chalitza get that they would write. So you see clearly that they would give him a choice if he wants to do the mitzvah of Yibum. He would add another line to this get. And they also said the psukim that it says in the Torah that you say to the Yavam before you do the mitzvah of Yibum. Rashi over here brings that part of the psukim of what you say is you say that he doesn't want to do the mitzvah of Yibum. Okay, now the Gemara focuses on one detail that it said in this nusach of the chalitza. So what did it say here? Ishtumaydeinu, that it was made known to us that he is a brother of the brother that passed away. So pligi bar Rav Acha and Ravina. Rav Acha and Ravina argued about this. How does it become known to the bezdin? Chad omar be'edim. One opinion is you have to actually bring proper edim to prove that he's a brother. Another one said, Afila karev, afila isha. You don't need proper edim. One person can come and let us know about this, and even if he's pasala edis, he's a relative or even a woman, could also say this. The halacha is gilu milsa ba'almahu. This is just to reveal a fact, and it's not an edus about an actual davisha be'erve. The halacha of edus only applies to when you're saying edus in a davisha be'erve itself, like you're saying an edus about a kiddushin or so on, or about money matters. But over here, it's just to let us know who this identity of this person. So therefore, v'afila karav v'afila isha. So you can use even a relative or even a woman for this edus. Or other Rishonim say, gili milsa ba'alma means that you're basically revealing a fact that will become known, because the relation of people and who he is exactly is something that many people know. So it's a fact that's not a secret. So for something like this, you can have even a person that's pasaledus. Going back now to the Mishnah that we quoted before. This is actually a Mishnah in Bechairis. So what did it say there in that Mishnah? Bari Shaina, in the beginning, Shayim Eskavlan L'Shem mitzvah, that when they did Yibum, so they had intention for the mitzvah. So mitzvah Yibum Kedemus LaMitzvah Chalitza. So the mitzvah of Yibum came before Chalitza. But V'ach Shav Shayim Eskavlan L'Shem mitzvah, today that people don't have the kavanah for the mitzvah, so Amar Mitzvah Chalitza Kedemus LaMitzvah Yibum. So now they said Chalitza comes before Yibum. So Amar Rami Bachama Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Chazru loymar, but then later they again went back and said mitzvahs yibum kedamus lemitzvahs chalitza. That know that the mitzvah of yibum does come before the mitzvah of chalitza. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said to him, "What happened? Ach shedore." The generation became more fit to say that now we know that they're doing it l'shem shemayim. This is a very famous expression. The Gemara says ach shedore. Sometimes this is quoted. The Rebbe would quote this lashon sometimes benichase without a wonder. Ach shedore, that there's certain things that we see the generation is better. Yeah. So the Gemara answers, no, really this is all based on one opinion. Meikare, in the beginning, savri la kabishal. They held like the opinion of Abishal that said that the mitzvah of chalitza is first, because Gemara is here going to quote what Abishal said. But then Savri la k'Rabbanan. Then they changed back to the opinion of the Rabbanan. What did Abishal and the Rabbanan argue about? The Tanya, so on a Braisa we learned, Abishal says, HaKayin says Yevimta, a person that marries is Yevame, L'Shem Noif, or beauty, L'Shem Ishur, so just because he wants to be married, or L'Shum Davach, or for any other reason. And he's not doing it for the sake of the mitzvah. Ki'ilu paigeya be'erve. It's almost as if he's meeting or he's getting married to someone that's an erve, that's also for him to get married. It's his brother's wife. The karev ani be'enai liyais lahavlad mamzer. And it's almost in my eyes like the child born would be a mamzer. Obviously, it's not literally a mamzer. There's a mitzvah of yibum, and there's a heta, there's no eishes ach over here. But nevertheless, not being done l'shem mitzvah is almost like being a mamzer. But the Chachamim say, no, it says in the Torah, Yevame Yavai Aleh Mikol Makom. The Yevame should come and get married to her. Either way, the kavanah of it's l'shem mitzvah or not does not matter. So we see here that this is the machlokes between Abishal and the Rabbanan about this. So there's a big discussion in the Rishonim and the Poskim who we paskin like Abishal or the Rabbanan. And the minig today, bismanazeh, at least by most kehillas, that we don't do yibum is because we paskin like Abishal, that today you can't do yibum because we don't know if you're going to do it l'shem shemayim. So that's why we only do chalitza. So the Gemara, man tana l'hada tana Rabbanan. Who is the tana of the following Braisa? The Braisa says, Yevame Yavei Aleh mitzvah. When the Torah says this pasuk, it means that it's a mitzvah to do yibum. And now what the Braisa explains, shebitchila haisa olav b'chlal heter. This woman, before she married his brother, so she was like any other woman that he was allowed to marry her. Then Nesra. Now she went and married his brother. She became asa to him. And now v'chazra v'hutra. But now that the brother died without children, so the original heter comes back, that he could marry her. So now yachol tachzar leheteira harishain. I would think that she returns to original heter the way she was before. The Gemara is soon going to explain what exactly I would think, what that means. You go back to the first heter. Talmud Laima. So the pasuk here says, Yevame Yavei Aleh mitzvah. You don't go back to the original status before, but actually now it's a mitzvah. So now the Gemara will explain, this Braisa here, is it going like Abishal or is it going like the Rabbanan? So there are two interpretations here. Man Tana, who is the Tana of this Braisa? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi. So Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi's pshat is Abishali. This Braisa is Abishal. And v'hachi kama, this is how you understand what this Braisa is saying. It says in the Torah, Yevame Yavei Aleh mitzvah, that this is a mitzvah to do yibum, shebet chila yisala b'chlal heter. Before she married your brother, so there was mutter to you. Now, Ratza l'shem noi kainsa. You want to marry her for her beauty, you're allowed. Ratza l'shem ishus kainsa. Just to be married, so you can marry her as well. But now Nesra, now she became your brother's wife, so now she's asa to you. Chazra v'hutra, now after the brother passes away without children, now she's permitted to be married to you. Now there's a mitzvah of Yibum. Yochel tachzel eteira rishain. I would think that she goes back to the original heter, meaning that you could marry her for any purpose. You could now as well do the mitzvah of Yibum, and you can marry her for her beauty or just to be married there. Talmud Laima Yevamos Yavayaleo le mitzvah. That you could only marry her now for the sake of a mitzvah. So in other words, he's being guided over here in the Braisa, this lamed, le mitzvah, that it has to be done, l'shem shemayim, for the sake of a mitzvah. This is the opinion of Rav Yitzchak, that this Braisa is like Abishal. Rav Omar, Rav says the pshat on the Braisa is different. Afil Taimer Rabbanon, I can tell you that this Braisa here is according to the Rabbanon, that you do not have to do the mitzvah of Yivum, l'shem mitzvah. V'achikama, this is how you read the Braisa. Yevamos Yavayaleo mitzvah, that when it says in the Teide, Yevamos Yavayaleo, it's telling you a mitzvah. Shebet chilaisa b'chlal heter, and then Ratza kainsa, Ratza eina kainsa. In the beginning, so this wasn't your brother's wife, you had an option. You could marry this woman, or not. You don't have to marry her. Now Nesra, then she became forbidden. She became your brother's wife. Chazra v'hutra, and now after he passed away without children, now she's mutter to you again. Yachal tachzel eteira rishin. I would think she goes back to the original heter. And what would that mean? So the Gemara says Ratza kainsa and Ratza eina kainsa. If he wants, he marries her. If he wants, he does not marry her. So the Gemara immediately clarifies what that would mean. Ratza eina kainsa. He's saying that now I would think that there's an option that he doesn't have to marry her. But she's a Yevama. She's connected to him because she's a Yevama. Bichdit teipik, with nothing, she should be able to be released and go out. So let's amend that and fix it. It means Ratza kainsa, Ratza chaylitzla. I would think that the mitzvah of Yibum and the mitzvah of Chalitza are equal. You can either do Yibum or Chalitza, they're equivalent. Talmud Laima, Yevamos Yavayaleo mitzvah. When the Torah says Yevamos Yavayaleo, so this means mitzvah, that the mitzvah of Yibum comes before the mitzvah of Chalitza. So that's the pshat of Rave, that this Braisa goes according to Rabbanon, and it's coming to tell me that between the two Chalitza and Yibum, Yibum takes precedent over Chalitza. So we have two pshatim over here now in this Braisa. Again, one pshat is le mitzvah, that it's coming to tell me that I have to do the mitzvah of Yibum l'shem shemayim, not just to marry a woman for her beauty or for any other reason. And the other pshat is it's coming to tell you that this is the main mitzvah. Yibum is the main mitzvah more than Chalitza. So now the Gemara is going to bring that this Braisa and the Reisha said a similar thing regarding another case, and it only seems to fit with Rav's pshat. Now what did it say in the beginning of that Braisa? A similar case. It says in the Torah, matzos teichel b'mokim kodesh. You should eat it matzos in a holy place. This is talking about a carbon mincha. And regarding the carbon mincha, so usually they would take off the kaimitz and then be makriv that on the mizbeach. And then after you will makriv that part on the mizbeach, so now the remainder is the kayanim can eat it. And it says in the Torah that they eat it matzos in a holy place. So what's the pasuk teaching? So again here the Braisa and the Reisha says a similar thing to what it says by Yibum. This flour and this water, before you were makdish it to hektish, so this was like any flour and water that you were allowed to eat. Now, Nesra, now once you makdish it, and before you take off the kaimitz, you're not allowed to eat from it, so it's forbidden. And then, v'chazra v'hutra, after you went and you took off the kaimitz for the mizbeach, so now the kainim are allowed to eat from it. Yachol tachzel eteira arishin, I would think it goes back to its original heter. Talmud Laima, so the pasuk says, matzos teyachel b'makim kadosh, you eat this matzos in a holy place, mitzvah. So this is the mitzvah. So now the Gemara explains that this case only fits with Rav's pshat that he said before. Why? According to Rav's pshat that he explains regarding the Sefer, by the mitzvah of Yibum. He says, Ha mani Rabbanani, that the Braisa says according to the Rabbanon, so therefore we can say as follows. What's the pshat over here regarding when it says that the mitzvah to eat from the mincha, it's a mitzvah? What is it saying? Hachi ka'amar. This is what it's saying. Matzahs tiyachal b'makim kadosh, you should eat from the carbon mincha, matzahs in a holy place in the Beis HaMikdash, mitzvah. So it's a mitzvah. What's the Braisa saying? This flour and water in the beginning was mutter for you to eat before you were makdish it. If you want, you can eat it. If you want, you don't have to eat it. Then Nesra, once you were makdish it, became hektish, now it's forbidden for you to eat. Then chazra v'hutra, once you take off the kaimitz, now it became mutter again. Yachal tachzel atayra arisha. I would think it goes back to its original heter, which is ratza oichla, ratza ein oichla. That the kainim, if they want, they eat from the leftovers of the mincha, or if they want, they don't eat. So now again, the Gemara immediately clarifies what this means. Could you say that if you want, you don't eat? Ratza eina ichla. That means that, could you say that a kohen does not have to eat from the mincha? V'haksiv, but there's a pasuk that says, regarding all karbanis, v'achlu oisam asher kupar behem, that the kohenim have to eat from the karbanis that a kapara was brought from them. And this teaches me, melamed, sha'kohenim oichlim, when the kohenim eat from the carbon, ubailim eskaprim. That brings the kapara for the owners. It's not only what's brought in the mizbeach, but also what the kohenim eat brings the kapara. So how could you say that the kohenim should not eat from this? Ella, the Gemara amends it, Ratza hu eichla, Ratza kain acha eichla. I would think that maybe the kain that did the avodah and he brought this mincha as the carbon here, maybe he could eat it, or maybe someone else could eat it. Not that kain necessarily has to fulfill the mitzvah of eating it as well. Talmud Leimat, matzah is teyachah b'makom kadosh. Therefore, the Torah says that he should eat this mincha matzah is mitzvah, that the mitzvah lies upon him to eat it. So this pshat that we're saying here now regarding the carbon mincha, that the kayin has to eat it, is similar to the pshat that we say regarding yibum according to Rava. By yibum as well, what's Rava's pshat? That you would think that maybe he does not have to do the mitzvah of yibum, maybe he can get out of that mitzvah by doing chalitza, and we're telling you no, he should go ahead and do the mitzvah of yibum. Similar over here regarding the mincha, we're saying the same thing. You would think he can go out of this mitzvah of eating, another kayin can eat it. So we say, no, this kain that did the Aveda should go ahead and eat the leftovers of the mincha. So that fits the two parts of the Braisa are the same. But according to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi Dama Abishal, he said that the Seif in the Braisa, when it spoke about the mitzvah of Yibum, that goes according to Abishal. And what was Abishal saying? When it comes to the mitzvah of Yibum itself, you can do the mitzvah of Yibum in two ways. You could do it l'shem mitzvah, or you could do it not l'shem mitzvah. You could do it because you just want to marry her for her beauty and so on. So now let's see how that would apply to the carbon mincha. Hacha mai trei gavni ikke. Over here, when it comes to the carbon mincha, and we're talking about the fact that you have to eat it matzahs, what is there two ways how you can eat these matzahs? Over here, regarding the carbon mincha, we don't find any concept that there's a difference if you're eating the matzah l'shem mitzvah or not l'shem mitzvah. You just have to eat it. The kayanim have to eat from the kachim. So over here, you can't make this distinction of two ways, whether you eat it l'shem mitzvah or not. So how could you compare the reisha, where it talks about the mincha, to what it says regarding the sefer? So the Gemara here is going to try to show that even when it comes to the carbon mincha, there are also two ways how it could be eaten. Now, if you would argue and say, maybe there are the following two ways. If you want, you can eat it because you're hungry and for the good taste of it and you want to eat. Or that you would think that you could eat it even achila gasa, which means when a person is completely full and he still eats anyways, even though it's mamashis, he's totally full. That's called achila gasa. So I would think that either way he eats it, he fulfills the mitzvah of eating from the kachim. And that's what it's telling you, that no, that he could only eat l'tiyavin. Says the Gemara, that's not an option. Achila gasa, mishma achila. When a person eats when he's completely full, that doesn't even have the name achila. That's not called eating. You're stuffing yourself, it's not called eating at all. Because Ba'omer Reish says, achila gasa b'yom kippurim, pater. A person on Yom Kippur that goes and eats when he's already completely full, he's pater miloi su'una. He wasn't over on the lav of a person that did not inflict himself, because it's not called eating. So you can't say that that's what it means over here regarding the eating of the leftovers of the mincha. Ella, maybe it means the following. Again, what we're looking for is, are there two ways how to fulfill this mitzvah? Ratza matzah ichla. If he wants, he can eat the leftovers as matzah, and ratza chametz ichla. Or if he wants, he can eat it as chametz. But that can't be either, because V'aksiv, it already says in another place regarding the carbon mincha, lo yisei afa chametz chalkam. Do not bake the leftovers of the carbon to be chametz. The pasuk is actually read lo yisei afa chametz, and then chalkam is part of another pasuk. But the Gemara darshans it together. V'amar Reish Lakish said, v'afilu chalkam, even the portion that's left over for the kayanim to eat, lo yisei afa chametz. Not only the portion that's put on the mizbeach, but even the portion that the kayanim eat should also not be eaten chametz. Hello. So what would you say? What is the pshat? Ratza matzah eichla. Maybe over here there's two ways how to do this mitzvah. If he wants, he can eat it matzah. which is baked like regular matzah, or ratza chalot teichla, or he can eat it chalot. Chalot is when you pour boiling hot water and you scald it with this boiling hot water on the flour, and maybe that's different. It's baked in that kind of a way, or it's cooked by this hot water. You would think that you can eat the karban mincha either matzah or with this boiling hot water, chalot. So the Gemara says, what's the status of this chalot? Hi chalot, hey chidami. What is the halacha of this chalot? Im matzahi, if as the halacha of matzah, so then hamatzahi. So then it's actually matzah. So there's no difference between chalot or matzah. It's the same thing. V'iloi matzahi, but if it's not matzah, so matzah is amar achmana. The Torah already says regarding the karban mincha in another place that you have to eat it matzah. Rashi here brings the pasuk. It says in Parashas Tzav, v'chlua matzais. So why do you have to have over here another pasuk, matzah is te'achel b'makim kadosh, to teach me that it has to be eaten matzah is not chalot, if you're telling me that chalot is not matzah? So the Gemara says, and this is the final answer here, loy lameim alach matzahi. Really, I can tell you that you have matzah that's baked like regular matzah, and then you have matzah which is chalot, it's scalded with hot water. Really, it is matzah. But therefore the Torah has to write again over here a second time this pasuk of matzah is tiyachal b'makom kadosh, besides the pasuk that it says in Parashas Tzav, ve'ichlua matzah, so it's writing it twice, la'akiv, to let you know that it has to be specifically this type of matzah. In other words, this chalot is also considered to be matzah, but it's still not regular matzah. And the pasuk over here is telling me that when you eat the matzah of the karban mincha, it should not be this matzah that's cooked with this boiling hot water, that's also to some degree matzah, but it has to be the regular matzah that's baked in the oven. That's why the Torah is writing it a second time. So now the Gemara says, if so, elocholot matzahi the ka'amrinon. So you're telling me that the matzah that's cooked with this boiling hot water is in other places also considered to be matzah lamay ilchase. Regarding what are you saying that it's considered to be matzah? Here by the karban mincha, you're saying that it's only matzah if it's actually matzah. So regarding what do we consider it to be matzah? Laimar, so then one answers, that's to tell you, that when it comes to Pesach, so over here you have to eat matzah. The matzah could be whether regular baked matzah or scalded with this boiling hot water. That's also considered to be matzah. Even if you take this matzah and you pour boiling hot water on the flour, but kivin the hada afye betaner, if then after you do that, so it's already cooked or baked to some extent, but then you put it into the oven and you bake it again. Lechem oini karinam bei. It's called lechem oini. It's this matzah, and v'adam yetze bei dechavase bePesach, and you will be yetze the mitzvah on Pesach. So Taisus over here points out that our Gemara is a chiddush because there is a Gemara in Psachim that says that lechem oini comes to exclude prat l'chalot u'lashisha, that this chalot that's cooked with this boiling hot water you cannot do the mitzvah with. So our Gemara is coming to say, according to Pshat and Taisus, but if you take that matzah that you cooked with boiling hot water and then you stick it into the oven, so then you will be yetze the mitzvah with it. So this is a pshat that fits in the Braisa, even according to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi, that said according to Abba Shol. Okay, let's learn one more Mishnah over here in the Gemara to the bottom of the Yomud. Sagt Mishnah, ha'chayletz liyevimtoi, a person that does chalitze for his Yevamos. So now he's the same like all the other brothers when it comes to the nachla, and he gets the nachla together with all the other brothers. In other words, when you're talking about inheriting that brother that passed away, so if this brother did chalitze, so all the brothers together inherit from their brother that passed away, and he gets a portion as well. If there's a father, the father inherits before any of the brothers. If a person does the mitzvah of Yibum, so he now inherits all of the possessions of the brother that passed away. None of the other brothers, just him. Rabbi Yehuda says, Benkach or Benkach, either way, whether he did Chalitza or he did Yibum, im yesham av nechasim shalav. If there's a father, the father still inherits the brother that died, and not the brother that did the mitzvah of Yibum. Sagt Gemara, going back to the beginning of the Mishnah, so what did it say? If one brother did Chalitza, he inherits the brother that passed away together with the rest of the brothers. So the Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. Why would I think that because he did the mitzvah of Chalitza that he should get any less than any of the other brothers? Says the Gemara, no, I would think the reverse. Chalitza b'makim yibum kaima. Chalitza is the other mitzvah, it's the other option instead of yibum. V'nishkal kulunichsi. So maybe I would think, just like by yibum, if he does yibum, he gets everything. Maybe for chalitza, he should also get everything. Kamash malan. So the Mishnah is saying that he only gets the same like the rest of the brothers. But the Gemara doesn't accept this pshat because if so, harei hu ke'echad min ha'achim. When you're saying that he is like all the brothers, so the Mishnah should have said a different lashon. If you're saying that I would have thought that he gets everything, he only gets one portion, so it should have said that lashon, that he's only like all the brothers. Sounds like that I would have thought he got nothing, and he's equivalent to the rest of the brothers. Ella, so the Gemara says, you're right. I would take a thing to say that Hoyel va'afsada mi yibum, because since he's the one that gave her chalitza and he made her lose out from the option of the mitzvah of yibum, liknasei. Maybe you should get a penalty just for this, and he should not get any Yerusha of his brother whatsoever. Kamash Malan. That's what the Mishnah is saying, that he still gets a portion of his brother's possessions together with all the rest of the brothers. Then the Mishnah said, if there's a father, the father gets the Yerusha. The Master said, a father yashins a son before any of the other brothers that would yashin him. Then the Mishnah said, if you marry the Yevamos, so then that brother gets everything. My time, what's the reason? Because the pasuk says, Yakum al Shem Achiv, that he takes the brother's place. That's what the Torah is saying. So he takes the brother's place. We once had a sugi before Barichas where the Gemara explained the drasha, but he takes the brother's place for the Yerusha. But Rabbi Yehuda argues, Rabbi Yehuda says he does not take the brother's place. He gets a Yerusha only if the father is not alive, that is. But if the father is alive, then the father gets. So the Gemara brings here the Ama'ula, Halacha ki Rabbi Yehuda, V'chein Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, Halacha ki Rabbi Yehuda, we pass like Rabbi Yehuda. V'Ama'ula v'tayme Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, my time the Rabbi Yehuda, what's the source of Rabbi Yehuda, that the Yavam only yashins if the father is not here? Because by the mitzvah of Yibum, the pasuk says, V'hoya b'choyer asher teili. So what's the simple pshat of the pasuk? That the b'choyer that's born from this Yibum, you'll give him a name on the brother. But the Gemara darshans this, ki b'chayr, that we treat the Yavam the same like we treat a b'chayr. Ma b'chayr, ein le b'chayr, just like when it comes to a b'chayr, the b'chayr does not get when the father is still alive. He doesn't, when the b'chayr does not yashin when the father is still alive, afhai, so too, this Yavam, nami, ein le b'chayr, he does not get any of the Yerusha of the brother that passed away if the father is alive. If that's how you darshan this, so maybe we should say, so a b'chayr, when the father does pass away, then the b'chayr does get a double portion. So maybe this Yavam should also get double after the father passes away. Once the father passes away, he should get from the father's possessions, and he should also get from that brother that passed away. Now maybe he should get it. Says the Gemara, no, midi yakum al shem aviv ksiv. When we darshan before that a Yavam is the one that yarshans his brother, does it say Yakum al Shem Aviv, that he takes that from his father? Yakum al Shem Achiv Ksiv. If he's taking it directly from his brother, then he gets his brother's portion. But if the father got it already, so then he does not take from his father a double portion after the father passes away. V'loy al Shem Aviv, but he doesn't get from the father. The Gemara has another question on Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe we should say, if there's no father, the lishkal nachla, that takes this inheritance from the brother that died or from his son that died, then Teskayim mitzvah yibum. Then the mitzvah of yibum applies. But if there is a father, the loishakal nachla, and now the brother that would do yibum does not get any nachla, the father gets it, loiteskayim mitzvah yibum. Maybe there's no mitzvah of yibum at all. Just like you're making a distinction regarding the nachla, and you're saying that if the father is there, he gets it, and not the brother. Maybe the same should be regarding the entire mitzvah of yibum. That the whole mitzvah of Yibum is only when the father is not alive. So the Gemara says, no, those two are not connected. Midi, Yibum, Benachla, Tol Rachmana. Do you see over here in the Torah that the Torah is connecting the mitzvah of Yibum to who gets the inheritance? Yibum imiyavme. The mitzvah of Yibum is a mitzvah either way, that the brother has to do Yibum. V'yike nachle shkuli. If there's inheritance available for him, he takes it. If there's no father, but v'loi, loy shakal. If there's a father, and the father gets it, and the brother doesn't get it, so you don't get it. Those two are not connected. Now, regarding the final halacha, the Gemara again brings, Yosef Rab Chanina Kara Kamed Rab Yanai. Chanina was reading the halacha in front of Rab Yanai, Yosef Karmad, and he said, halacha Rab Yehuda, that we pass like Rab Yehuda. Amalei, so Rab Yanai told him, Puk kri karyach lebra. Go and read what you're saying outside the Beis Medrash, because ein halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Similar, Tani Kamed Rav Nachman, a Tana said in front of Rav Nachman that ein halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. So Amalei Rav Nachman said to him, why do you have to say this? Elo keman. Who's the halacha like Rabbanan? The halacha is like Rabbanan Pshita. That's obvious. Yochid v'Rabim halacha Karabim. Rabbanan are the Rabbim, so we always paskin like a Rabbim. Why do you have to have a special brisa saying that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda? Amalei, so the Tana that was reading in front of Rav Nachman asked him, Asme, so should I erase this brisa? Amalei loy. No, you don't have to erase it. And I'll tell you what happened. At halacha asnech. What happened was, this brisa was taught in front of you that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Umukshu da akshilach. And there was a question that was asked to you, how could you leave the opinion of the Rabbana, which is the Rabbim, and passing like Rabbi Yehuda? Va'afchis. And that's why you switched it, and instead of reading the brisa, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, you switched it to being that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Ulamai da'afchis. And the fact that you switched it to being that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, shapa afchis. You're right, you were right to switch that opinion, and therefore you don't have to erase it. That's to say that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. You leave it as is.